For her, people fell into the abyss. They dedicated to her tortured paintings, lines, performances, sculptures, compositions. Hearts, heads, destinies were laid on her altar. She came to people and turned their world upside down horizontally and vertically. She is completely her own cruelty and simultaneous mercy. Her name is love. Now she is a commodity in online dating services. We choose not people, but products with characteristics. But who needs this? Sad men marry sad women, giving birth to sad children. Marriages fall apart, and no one needs this way to express the inexpressible. I don't believe love sounds like self-defense. Armor of disappointment will not allow reaching the heart if deceived again. However, love turns the earth. So maybe we should look at it in a new light. Today I would like to draw your attention to 3 important questions of love. We use the word love with the word love. However, love is different. There is a huge difference between I love my wife and I love brownie, and the way we abuse this word devalues such a strong feeling, which, at the very least, is considered a sunstroke. The ancient Greeks, for example, felt this difference and used at least 6 designations for different states of love. Agape. This is selfless spiritual love. It requires nothing in return. In the Christian sense, for example, it is believed that Jesus showed such love to all people. Eros. As you might guess, this is sexual love, and not necessarily selective. Strong passion that can both save and ruin. Philia. This is a calm, connecting feeling between people. It can be experienced, for example, towards friends. We now encounter this word as part of others. Storge. This type of love is similar to philia, but it is distinguished by strong attachment. For example, the love you share with your family or your homeland. Ludus here, love is just a game, just a hobby, without penetration into feelings and attachment. Pragma. This love is born after many years of living together, when you know when to keep silent, when to support, or when to show patience. It is a wise love, where there is balance. And we feel this difference in the categories of love. And it would be much easier if we asked ourselves, how do I love? And if we reasoned in such a way, whether it's passion or pain, because we were connected, perhaps we would make fewer promises to other people and not feed ourselves with illusions. Words are powerful tools. They determine consciousness and ultimately perception of reality. Of course, we cannot do without the Greeks alone. Similar examples can be found in many languages. Because agree, it is easier to understand your feelings when they are collected in a couple of syllables. The reasoning that love is born in the mind, not in the heart, does not negate the power of this feeling. Even if love is broken down into formulas, it will still attack us from all sides. There are many examples in life when love even changed the course of history. For example, Richard and Mildred Loving. Richard, a white man who fell in love with Mildred, a girl of African and Indian descent. When it was time to get married, they went from their native Virginia to Washington, where there was no law against mixed marriages. 5 weeks later, the police burst in on the spouses in Virginia. They were arrested for an interracial marriage. On January 6, 1959, they appeared before the court. They had a choice: a year in prison or expulsion from the state for 25 years. The couple chose the second path, but Mildred could not reconcile herself to such a crime against the lovers. Since 1963, they had been going to lawyers and brought the case to the Supreme Court. So 4 years later, the court ruled that the ban on interracial marriages in Virginia and 15 other states was unconstitutional. Or consider the tale of Stephen Hawking and Jane Wilde. In 1963, at the age of 21, Stephen Hawking, a brilliant doctoral candidate at the physics department of the University of Cambridge, faced a pivotal moment. He received the diagnosis of amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, with most physicians giving him 2 years from such news. This plunged Stephen into profound melancholy, yet his zest for life was rekindled by Jane Wilde, whom he had met a year earlier. She proved to be the woman with whom he would spend a quarter of a century. Perhaps the poignancy of this narrative is heightened by the fact that Jane's parents were reluctant to accept him. Later, she recollected her mother's words, "We do not hold affection for you. You do not fit into our family. Despite all adversities, they remained together." In a later documentary about himself, the 75-year-old Hawking reminisced, "Love bestowed upon me the purpose for which I must live another pair from the realm of science, Marie and Pierre Curie." Their love was forged amidst their shared contribution to the scientific field in the chemical laboratory. Despite encountering hostility, they emerged as an outstanding team, simultaneously advancing the frontiers of science and nurturing their offspring. In 1903, the couple were honored with the Nobel Prize in Physics. Following her husband's demise in 1906, Marie continued to honor his memory. She scribed, "Shattered by fate, I was unable to envision my future. However, I did not forget my husband's words, that even in his absence, I am obliged to continue my work remarkably." Their daughter, Irene Joliot Curie, in 1935. also shared the Nobel Prize in Chemistry with her husband Frederick for synthesizing new radioactive elements. And how many more such narratives are discreetly preserved in familial archives? Friends, surely you have anecdotes to share about your parents or grandparents who have endured the test of time together. Do not hesitate to share in the comments. Indeed, love can be contemplated from various perspectives. Here are a few viewpoints on this matter. Plato's Symposium, one of the early texts of Western philosophical tradition dedicated to love. During the gathering, illustrious guests convened: Aristophanes, Socrates, Alcibiades, Phaedrus, Pausias, and Eryximachus. Their discourse revolved around Eros, the ancient deity of love and desire. And as the ancient deity, he is the origin of the greatest goods. From Aristophanes' discourse, we glean the myth of the androgynes, the primordial beings who embodied both male and female characteristics. Once they grew so haughty of their beauty and power that they challenged the gods, leading Zeus to cleave them in two. Since then, humans are destined to seek their other half, as Eros binds them together. Approaching Socrates, whose dialogue became the apex of the evening, we learn of his conversation with a certain Mantinean named Diotima, who enlightened him on the subject of love. Through their deliberations, they arrived at the conclusion that Eros is the love of the beautiful, and the beautiful is the good, and each aspires to attain the good to attain happiness. However, behind such resolution lies not solely Eros. He is but one of the lower rungs on the path to apprehending beauty. Beyond beautiful bodies lies the understanding of the inner beauty of a person, and even higher lies the contemplation of beauty as it is, irrespective of its embodiment. Thus, love for dialogue entails a pursuit of unity, eternity, goodness, and contemplation of beauty as it is, regardless of its embodiment. Taking a big step forward, let's turn to the founder of existentialism, Kierkegaard. He was perhaps the most melancholic romantic among philosophers. His life, including his works, was influenced by his love for a woman named Regina Olsen. When they met, she was 15 and he was 25. 3 years of meetings, hand-in-hand walks, and correspondence led Kierkegaard to desire marriage with Regina. But almost immediately, he doubted that he could ever become a family man. For a whole year, he immersed himself in work. Regina saw his busyness but believed it was just an excuse to avoid her. On August 11, 1841, Kierkegaard broke off the engagement. He sent his beloved a farewell letter along with his engagement ring. They both suffered from this decision. Kierkegaard shared in his diary that he cried all night in bed. Since then, he never loved anyone. It was an emotional upheaval, a hurricane that mixed everything up in his head. And of course, this affected his work. He indirectly mentioned Regina in his writings. In the book Stages on Life's Way, there is an analysis of 3 spheres of existence: the aesthetic, the ethical, and the religious. The ethical part is about the reunion of one life with another, that is, about marriage. The religious part is about dedicating oneself to God. Most likely, he couldn't imagine how to combine work, Christian faith, and marriage. There is also another version that he may have broken off the engagement because of impotence, but that's a completely different story. In the treatise either or, there are plenty of veiled references to his relationship with Regina. It includes sections devoted to issues of erotica and sermons on the merits of marriage. Also included is the work of the diary writer. Kierkegaard writes the story of a young man who persistently pursues a girl, but having won her, breaks off the relationship with her. Or another couple who had free love. Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir. A couple who had free love, Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir Sartre, believed that true love can be realized when both partners resist the desire to possess each other as objects. She also believed that lovers often use relationships as an escape from reality in her book Second Flight. True love should be based on the mutual recognition of 2 freedoms. Each of the lovers would feel themselves, in this case, both themselves and others. Neither of them would have to renounce their transcendence or mutilate themselves. Together they would find value and purpose in the world. Each of them, by giving themselves to their beloved, would get to know themselves and enrich their world. A person is always in search of happiness, and love is what can provide you with warm feelings, sometimes for a year, but it would be better for a lifetime. It would be great to understand right away that the person you love now will always be with you. It would be important to be able to understand people and develop this in yourself, not only through experience but also through a desire for new knowledge reveals to us about love. So it's mainly friendship in it, not passion. It's precisely the ability to understand each other, listen, help, and talk about anything as befits true friends that is the basis of strong love. In the chart, we see that passion in relationships fades over time. And if you've ever talked to an elderly couple, you know it's normal. Although there are exceptions, they are rather rare. With time, the flames of passion may subside, but they never fully extinguish. Friendship, on the other hand, only grows stronger with years. It stands in opposition to passion, requiring more time to develop. Often, when faced with the realities of relationships, we fear moving forward. Though it may be difficult to contemplate when the heart feels the whole world is close, it is necessary. Consider those whom you've placed in the friend zone. Truly, the best relationships stem from friendship. What is love? It is the sum of actions towards a beloved person, a feeling that is impossible to fully describe, to grasp with all its exceptions and contradictions. In one instance, it is a blessing, a gift, and in another, a curse. Nevertheless, love gives us a sense of being alive. It inspires us. Disappointments often arise from misunderstandings within a couple. Words matter, and it is important to understand what you feel towards your loved one and to express it to them. Do not deceive yourself or give illusions. The Greeks have already tried that. What cannot be expressed should be kept silent. Do not underestimate the immense power that has been guiding us forward for thousands of years. Thank you for watching. Special thanks to the folks supporting me on. Until soon.